welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head on two of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, this is our special Leaders of Tomorrow series talking about what the new normal is like and should be like, really, for small businesses in this post-COVID world. What should you do when it comes to business continuity planning, crisis communication, and much more? To answer all of that, I'm being joined by two experts who need not much of an introduction. First up is Dr. Velumani of Thyrocare. We also have Mohandas Pai joining us on the show tonight. Mohandas Pai, Dr. Velumani, thank you both very much for your time here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, speaking directly to our small businesses about what business continuity looks like in what is fast becoming the new normal, perhaps, for small businesses. Dr. Velumani, I want to come to you first and talk about the fact that as someone who's so closely associated with the healthcare and the medical industry, what have things been like really over the past couple of weeks for you?
Actually, till March 20th or so, business was running cool. We were having the typical February, March rush. So we were thinking things will go all right. But I think post March 15th, the fear of the infection has made doctors to avoid patients. And then subsequently in the lockdown, medical doctors are not available to look after the lifestyle disorder based segment of healthcare. And as you know, government also has said postpone all selective surgeries, postpone all routine appointments. Literally speaking, the space I have been in, or we have been in as a diagnostic laboratory, we have lost 95% of the business just suddenly in the 3 days of the lockdown. So this is a bit of highly disappointing because turnovers are zero. There are challenges in the business, healthcare business. We are a listed company. We do a turnover of roughly around 1.2 crores each day. But then suddenly the turnovers have plummeted to zero, and now no other expenditure has come down. So it's not that simple. Fortunately, we are a bit of a cash rich in the closing balance, and we would have no problem in managing it for a quarter, even for a 6 months period. But then those who have been, just keeping hardly anything in their closing balance will now have to borrow, and banks have to lend, and all challenges are there. So in such a situation, healthcare is supposed to be prospering. It is a health issue. It is supposed to be giving boost to the healthcare as a business. But unfortunately, the lockdowns, the kind of fear the virus has given to medical, paramedical, everyone, common man. Today, the business is literally zero. We are authorized to run the COVID testing. That's around 10 lakhs per day turnover instead of 1.2 crores per day turnover. That's the situation as far as diagnostic industry is concerned.
Sure. Mr. Pai, let me come to you next and talk about the fact that what started off as a medical and a healthcare crisis has very quickly, unfortunately, become a humanitarian crisis. And even as we're grappling with the outcome of that, as someone who is representative of India Inc., as someone so closely associated and as a voice really for India Inc., how do we stop this from becoming an economic crisis?
Sunanda, it has already become an economic crisis. In Bangalore, we are already 30 days into a lockdown. And I think it's important to understand that. While the national lockdown started much later, we are into 30 days. Now, who are the people who are hurt? The daily wage earners are hurt because people, maybe 30-40% of all the people who work in this country are daily wage earners. They have no sustenance. They have no savings. They earn today, spend tomorrow. Maybe they can leave for 1 or 2 days. They live near the streets, on the streets, and I think they're very deeply hurt. And I think to reach them and to give them money is very difficult, and that's what government has to look at. Second is all these MSMEs who are very deeply hurt because they don't have enough cash to sustain themselves. They've been shut down for nearly a month. They're not getting any revenues. They're not able to collect their money. They have to pay salaries. I think last month they would have paid salaries, and many of them won't have the ability to last another 1 month. I saw a financial analysis report which said based on the large number of companies, 25% cannot last more than 1 month without cash. Now they need financial support. The third are the supply chain. Thousands of lorries stuck somewhere on the way. The drivers have run away. Delivery boys have gone away. Migrant labor is scared, has gone back home, or is in camps all over the country. They require help. And then regular business. Regular business, some of them have cash in the balance sheet for 6 to 8 months. They can survive. But I think another 25% of people will not have cash for more than 3 months. And the way it is going, I think the business will not be sustained will not come back to normal for the next 6 months, because even if you start opening up, people are very scared to spend. Consumption is not there. People don't buy cars, don't buy houses, don't get money for everything. How will the economy come up? And the banks are now reluctant to lend money. SBI is, of course, the champion. They're given a 10% increase in the OD facilities for all the good clients. Other banks are very reluctant. Even the EMI, many banks are not giving. You have to go talk to them, even though RBI said that that should be given. So individuals who borrow, people who have lost their jobs. So my view is that about 3 to 4 crore people could end up losing jobs, because these are all contract labor, and contract labor all over India is being laid off in a very big way.
Sure.
So I think, we are in a serious crisis. Government has given the first phase of a stimulus by 1.7 lakh crore, accelerating some of the expenses they're supposed to do later and doing more, but they need much, much more. We need at least a 5 to 6 lakh crore stimulus. The industry like hotels, airports, tourism, restaurants, and like airlines, they're all in deep trouble.
We've been speaking to a lot of industries here on the Leaders of Tomorrow to get a sense of what the impact is likely going to be for small businesses. Some of the industries sounding a little positive, sounding a little optimistic, saying that 2020 consumer demand will come back. It has to come back, particularly when it comes to, say, the e-commerce sites, online shopping, etc. That's one of the interviews that we did previously. But that being said, and this is open to both of you gentlemen, I do want to understand, for a small business sitting where we are, uncertain times for sure, but what should they start putting in place immediately when it comes to business preparedness? What should a good business contingency plan consist of?
Yeah, as Mohandas Pai said, we have all exhausted all resources in last 25 days. The money which was supposed to come in has not come in. Entire small or big businesses are running on a rotation. The receivables should be received, then only you can manage the expenditures. So the receivables have started, number one. Now, when we have to restart, if you have to restart, the vendor is not going to give you material before paying advance. The receivables are not received, payables have to, to purchase, you have to pay in advance. This is one major problem. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you any positive guidance as to how they can be prepared, but let us understand what is the real situation. And like how Mr. Pai said, the guys, migrants who are stuck and who have not gone back, the minute you open the train, these guys only will go back and that guys will not come back to cities. Which means no businesses can be resumed also with full capacity, with full efficiency and full operations. So these are all big challenges. I think I am running short of ideas to give an idea, because even for myself, I don't know what kind of things I can do. But one thing is certain. Whenever a crisis comes, if you look at Japan today, a very powerful country, only after they are hit by Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think this entire world is hit. The entire community will come back. All of them will find a new order, new way of working. 50% of the office may be unnecessary, 50% of employees may be unnecessary. There is a very different world to, post this coronavirus.
Mr. Pai, Dr. Velumani is saying nothing in our hands, for sure. But even in these uncertain times, if you are a small business owner, through this interview, maybe two or three things that you think they should definitely start putting in place. Whatever you can do, you should do at this point. And what would that look like according to you?
Sunanda, first, they must make sure they conserve cash. Whatever money they have, they must conserve it for as long as possible. That means take salary cuts, make sure that people they employ have salary cuts to defer their salaries to a later date, pay them enough to survive because we're all in survival mode. So the cash that you have lasts a longer time. Second, borrow money from the banks or anywhere where it is due. Go to your bank and ask them for more liquidity against your stocks or whatever it is. Make sure that you have greater liquidity. Third, try to use online to sell if possible. If you're selling some essentials, use online. There are many platforms where you can go and sell. They're all neutral platforms, not people who sell in their own name, and do that. And fourth, just try to remain healthy and look after yourself, look after your family, so that when things open up, you are able to do much more. Because see, remember, Sunanda, like doctor said, you need money, you need liquidity. It's become a liquidity issue, not a solvency issue. People have assets, people have many things of value, but there's no cash for them because they don't have enough liquidity. Like you said, money, when it's in rotation, you rotate it, you take the money, you pay, and it goes on. There's a payable, there's a receivable, and the cycle goes on. Now everything is stuck. The payable remains, the receivables are not coming in because the other person, for other person is a payable, he's not paying. And now tomorrow you want to start business again, you have to pay first to get some goods to sell. Now whatever stocks you got, you may encash it by asking for cash, and many people don't even have the cash to pay because they don't have the cash. The liquidity is so RBI has opened the taps of liquidity, but the banks have to lend. So I think what the government needs to do is tell all the banks to give working capital of 20% above the limits and create a credit guarantee fund to say that, look, first 10% loss of this extra money, we will guarantee. So banks are emboldened to lend. Other banks will get scared and say, if I lend now, money doesn't come back, I have NPA, I'm going to have an inquiry against me. What will I do? They're not as bold as the State Bank of India chairman and the State Bank of India. They all have capital constraints, especially the public sector banks. Private sector banks will always look after capital. They'll not be free. So we need a credit guarantee fund.
All right, I'm going to take a very quick break on that note. But much more on the other side. Do stay tuned as far as this Leaders of Tomorrow's special series is concerned when it comes to how India is fighting the coronavirus. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. You're joining us on the special series of how India is uniting to fight the coronavirus and what you as a small business should do when it comes to business preparedness. Mr. Pai, you wear multiple hats. I want to talk about two of those. One is as far as your role is concerned in the education space, and second, as far as your association with the tech industry. What is the new normal looking like perhaps for an entrepreneur who's in the education space and using technology, using tools, using cloud, etc.? How does someone who's an entrepreneur perhaps prepare for business as usual in the new normal going forward?
I think the new norm for everybody is going to be more digital. Because today, staying at home for 30 days, all our habits are changed. Now, the millennials and the earlier generation Y, I think, Generation Y or X, they were born with technology. So up to you, if you're 25, 30 years, you know technology. For 15 years, you're deep into it, only use technology. But for people who are 40, 50, or 50 plus, they were not so much into technology. Now, staying at home, they're forced to use digital. So in future, more and more business is going to be digital. We know our education, our entertainment, our purchases, our travel, everything else is going to be much, much more digital than earlier. So people will not go to physical locations. They will be digital to do all the business. That is one. So I think an entrepreneur has to prepare for that. So online education will be much, much bigger. And online, offline will be there. Offline schools and colleges will have lesser number, hopefully lesser number of classrooms. More people will buy online content, online education to study asynchronously. People like Baiju will do very well. And Baiju has seen 6 million new subscribers in 1 month as compared to 3 million that they already had. So once the students get hooked on online, they will like online because online can be done. They don't have to travel much. They can do it in the house. They can study whenever they want. And they got total flexibility. They can do tests. They can do everything else. And I think that way they will change. And schools and colleges have to use more of online and use the classroom for discussion, for debate, for problem solving, etc., rather than for giving information or teaching. So teaching can be through projects and through problem solving. And that's how I think education will change. And that's how general business will change. As far as the tech industry is concerned, today about 85-90% of the IT services are working from home. Even for the startups, 90% of people are working from home. So I think in future, as a matter of course, 25 to 30% of all people who work in tech, either IT services, IT products, or in the digital world, will work from home and they'll be rotated, maybe larger number, 50-60%. They'll only meet whenever required. This will improve the quality of people's life. You don't have to commute so much. Pollution levels will come down. You can work from home because now you've got tools and you got all kind of tools and other mechanisms to find out productivity, to monitor whether you're working, etc. And people have to perform. You can give some data about their performance because they can all be linked to data and output. So I think the way of changing permanently will change.
My last few questions, and Dr. Velumani, Mr. Pai just said this is a seminal moment, and I couldn't agree more. My question to you is, as the head of a large organization, as the head of an organization, as a leader, what have you done to ensure that you are preparing yourself and that you're reacting really to what is happening around you? What does your crisis communication look like? What should a crisis communication plan on the part of a leader look like in times like this?
Yes, a leader, Sunanda, this is a very big challenge. As much as a country leader has a problem, the company leaders also have problems in understanding how will I sustain, how will I motivate people, how long will I be able to pay salaries to them, when the business will come back, when I will come back to normalcy. These are all the challenges. But having said that, you are the captain of the ship, and if you show a kind of insecurity for you, your people will feel more insecure. So I keep communicating to them and making sure that they understand that it's a matter of a month. So far I have been telling, now it's a matter of a quarter, and we believe that things will come back to be little more motivating my people. Guys, trust me, healthcare will be the most important industry from now onwards, which is rightly so, because the kind of crisis is healthcare crisis, and it will be certainly. And I am certainly keeping all staff at highest levels of morale. But at the same time, the least productive, what you call as overpaid liabilities, also are supposed to be seen and taken into account, because you have got an opportunity also to tell the guy, I'm sorry, it's not easy for me to carry. So there is a likelihood around 20-30% of the jobs might be redundant. So all these things have to be positively communicated, effectively communicated, and still you need to look at how company can be effectively be ready and wait for the business to resume. But having said that, the most disrupted is going to be tourism, travel and events, automobiles and real estate. But positively, it will be healthcare, food, wellness, fitness, nutrition, and also hygiene and personal care products. So we need to be prepared for a change if there is a change needed. But I am fairly well managing till today, and I don't see mentally lot of stress in terms of survival, but certainly very anxious to get back at the earliest.
Okay. My last question then to the two of you, maybe I can come to you first. Mr. Pai, and talk about the fact that even as businesses are grappling with, the changed economic scenario, they also have to keep in mind that perhaps there are people who are worse off than them. How do you ensure that you're responding to the needs of the community at this point? What should small businesses perhaps do? What should leaders do when it comes to having a meaningful difference at a time when everyone is struggling?
Sunanda, I'm coming down to the point that there are possibly 15 crore families in this country who require help because they're getting government subsidy, but they're not able to eke out a good existence for whatever it is. 15 crores. And there are 5 crore income tax payers and 5 crore people who are reasonably well off. If each one of us adopts 3 to 5 families, pays them 3,000, 4,000 rupees a month for the next 5 years, we will bring about a big transformation in India. Because we have to understand as citizens, government alone, through its delivery mechanism, its kinds of governance, cannot provide support. And when government does this in the transmission, despite what Prime Minister Modi has done to cut it down, there is a great loss because they can't identify people, they cannot make sure that the transmission loss is huge, and it's our tax money. So I think each one of us must try to adopt it directly and send them money to DBT every month for the next 5 years, because if people need purchasing power. Poverty is a lack of purchasing power. People are poor because they don't have purchasing power. If you give them purchasing power, they will educate themselves, they will keep body and soul together, they will improve, they will go out and earn, and they will improve. I think that is very important. In the next 5 years, we have to solve the problem of poverty. And today for the COVID-19, I think all of us should make sure that we spend some of our money to feed people with organizations.
Sure. Dr. Velumani, I'm going to let you have the last word.
I think the best support anybody who is in business, who is a leader, who can at least have more than what he needs to eat, should make sure that some more people are fed the basic needs of the intestine. That's one thing which is very important. And the second thing is, as far as the leaders are concerned, employ people and feed. It's very difficult to make people to sit and feed. That is not sustainable. Whatever number of crores we can spend, you can't make people to sit and feed. Produce some way of creating some job, outsourcing some job and get that job done and then feed them. This is only sustainable, and I believe without that kind of an approach to feed the stomach, it might even be counterproductive. He may get used to eating food sitting,
Sure.
and that could be another big challenge.
All right, gentlemen, on that very somber note, Dr. Velumani Mohandas Pai, thank you so much for your time here.
Thank you,
Leaders of
Samantha.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, that's our show tonight. Completely out of time on this show, but if you have any feedback for us, if you have any questions, do let us know. Our contact details is up on your screen. So just a moment. Thanks for watching.